I think that's the wave of the future. It's already here, actually, but I think more and more scenario-based learning is being designed for curriculum, right? And for training. So yes. Can you give an example of how you use microlearning or scenario-based learning in your work, and what impact did that have on the learners that you designed it for?
Yeah, totally. Well, I 100% agree that scenario-based learning, micro learning, gamification, all of that good stuff, those are all such common themes and ways to design effectively. And I would say that specifically for me, I'm working mainly with all adult learners. So even more so with that population, right? We want to be having things that are hands-on. They're practicing and applying the different scenarios, the different, pieces of content in a way that is very relevant to keep them engaged and focused and make sure that that's retained. So I would say one of the things that I worked on across a couple different classes, but it was also actively something I was doing in my job, was a nursing kind of development day presentation. So I went through and was able to kind of chunk some different content and then have all these different versions of like a role play scenario. Because this was a in-person training over the course of 4 hours, where I got a group of counselors and was able to kind of work with them through some content. And I would say that when you have meaty content like the nuances of a nursing program and all the requirements and things that come alongside that, really breaking that down into smaller, more manageable bits and then practicing it helps make sure that it stays relevant. There's not really as many misconceptions, because if there are, you'll catch them in that role play. So that was really helpful, I would say, for us to do.
Nice.
Throughout my program as well, I rebuilt that specific program over the course of a few classes. But I also got the opportunity to create a few different e-learning modules. So these were not instructor-led. So it was a little bit more, I don't know, it was a little bit different to create some of those moments for that hands-on learning or those scenario-based settings. So that might have looked more like an open-ended response, or even in my class through the discussion boards and posts, if you're creating a full course shell instead of just one module. You can use some of those different strategies to kind of promote, the class kind of chatting through how they're using these things, giving scenarios and saying, hey, what would we do with these different pieces? And as long as there's a good amount of engagement there, it's really cool to see that that can work just as well as, something where you're actively in a classroom, having people role play through different settings.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, I agree. Scenario-based learning is so powerful, right? Because you can really put those individuals in the moment, right? And then they know that they can take that of what they've learned in those scenarios and actually bring that to the job and
Yeah,
apply it. So that's great. There's nothing better
totally.
than that. I love it. Yes,
Yeah. And I
absolutely.
think what's so important is that the scenarios are super relevant, because I've seen it kind of go both ways, where
Right.
sometimes if you're trying to not throw trainees in the deep end and give them more like small manageable bits, but they're not as relevant, it's kind of hard for that to stick, right? Because if you're not using it in the field, it's maybe not something that's going to be as relevant or something that you need to remember, versus, if you as a trainer have some experience and are able to say, hey, when I did this, here's exactly what I saw, here's what you will see. It's a little bit different to give those more specific FAQ scenarios that they're going to actually experience. And that way, when we're practicing, it's kind of just a dress rehearsal for exactly what they'll see in the field. So I've seen that be equally as important as just getting a lot of scenario-based learning in, is making sure that all the scenarios you're working with are very applicable to what those individuals are going to see on the day-to-day.
Yes, absolutely.